It did not take long for China to fall apart again after Yuan Shikai's death. This was not entirely his fault, however, as some blame could be put on the Qing government during the Taiping Rebellion. Provincial governors were allowed to raise their own armies, thus furthering autonomy and loyalty to the governors, not the central government. In the north, the Beiyang government was the internationally recognized Republic of China. Yuan's immediate replacement would be Li Yuandong, who did not hold much power as Premier Duan Qiri more or less called the shots. The new government will work closely with the Zhili clique, one of the many cliques that dotted the map of China at the time. Of course, more of this militarism in the government led to more provinces declaring independence under their own banner. This is all occurring while most of the world is still on fire because the First World War is happening. The Beiyang government saw that there was a lot to gain by picking a side, but there was much debate about what exactly to do and which side to choose. In the end, only a Chinese labor force was sent to the Entente in hopes of getting Qingdao back at the very least. All of this hustle and bustle in the capital led to both Duan and Li inviting Zhang Yun into the capital to sort everything out, which he did, by reinstating Puyi as the emperor, for a whole 5 minutes until Duan came back with an army and crushed him. Now that everything's back to normal, the Anhui government can start building a stable Oh wait, the Fangtan and Zhili cliques are invading. Oh no. Oh dear. On 14th of July, 1920, the Anhui, with Japanese assistance, attacked the Zhili at both fronts and were successful at first. Things took a change for the worse when Wu Peifu, an interesting warlord if I do say so myself, took direct control of the Zhili forces in the west and absolutely annihilated the Anhui forces. This prompted the Fangtan forces under Zhang Zulin, the old marshal, to push from the northeastern front. All of this pressure resulted in the capitulation of the Anhui clique, and peace in our time was restored. Not long after the war, the coalition fell apart. A war broke out between the two sides, which resulted in a Fangtan defeat and a retreat to Manchuria. The Zhili then tried to reunify China, and it went pretty well until the actual diplomatic reality set in, and they kinda reunited China like a later man would. By this time, the Fangtan clique had been going stronger with Japanese support. You know what this means: more civil wars, more people gotta die. The Second Zhili-Fangtan War would begin in 1924 due to a dispute over who governed Shanghai. The remnants of the Anhui clique were Zhili general. This time, the Fangtan clique under Zhang Zulin had made adequate preparations and a detailed plan which the Zhili failed in this regard. The main goal of the Manchurian forces were to crush the Zhili and take Beijing and Tianjin, while also scoring some of Inner Mongolia if possible. On the political side of things, the Fangtan scored. They were able to found the anti-Zhili alliance between the KMT in the south and the corps of the Anhui clique. Dr. Sun had to retreat, however, for reasons which will be expanded on later. Zhang Zulin led his army to engage Wu Peifu's army and take Shanhaiguan and Jehol. They were stalled by disadvantageous terrain and the crack leadership of Peifu on the Shanhaiguan front. In Jehol, Reihe, they enjoyed much success, and the situation deteriorated so much that Wu Peifu himself traveled to Shanhaiguan to help to alleviate the front. This maneuver was a mistake, as I have left a little detail out for you. Before the war, Feng Yuxiang had signed a treaty with the Fangtan clique and was plotting a secret coup to defect to the Fangtan. This resulted in Feng couing Cao Kun and placing him under house arrest. Wu in response pulled his troops away from the front and retreated to Tianjin, which led to a decisive rout of the Zhili troops left behind. Seeing no other option, Wu left by military transport to central China into his protege's lands, Sun Chunfang. Major hostilities would end on November 3rd with the loss of all northern Zhili provinces split between the Fangtan clique and Feng Yuxiang's Guminjun. The war would continue with a further drive south where Zhili forces pushed the Allied powers back out of Zhejiang. In order to create a lasting peace that could never be broken between Feng Yuxiang and Zhang Zulin, Duan Qiri of the Anhui clique was set up as the head of the new provisional government. Of course, as a puppet, he didn't really hold much power. For now, let's take a trip down south, an area I have largely ignored up until now. South up until now had been largely different than the north, openly resisting the Beiyang government. Sun Yat-sen was named Generalissimo of the military junta in Guangzhou in order to protect the constitution of the provisional government. The main reason these warlords supported him was to legitimize their rule and form a challenge to the Beiyang government. Of course, this being warlord-era China, not everything is going according to plan. and after being forced into a governing committee, he went into exile on his own accord. While away, he would reform the Kuomintang and would start his path to reuniting China, starting with taking down the Guangxi clique. The old Guangxi clique. The First Yue-Gui War would start over troop movements by Sun Yat-sen, taking troops from a general who was less loyal to him and more loyal to a local warlord than a general more loyal to him, Chen Jiaoming. You know, that doesn't sound confusing at all. But this is Warlord era China, and all the sources are rather confusing. Sun then directed Chen to attack the Guangxi warlords. He then took Guangdong and Sun set up a base there. Then in 1921, the Second War occurred and the KMT pushed into Guangxi proper. Guangxi would be left to Chen, and Sun would begin his push north into Hunan. The Northern Expedition, not that one, would see Chen and Sun split, and Chen would revolt against Sun in 1922, seeing Sun flee. Again, this revolt would cause Sun not to complete his part in the anti-Shili alliance, obviously robbing him of territory. Once Chen was driven out, Sun returned in 1923. Notable developments were the alliance with the Chinese Communist Party, help from the Comintern, and the creation of the Whampoa Military Academy. Sun would travel to Beijing to talk about reunification with the leaders of the Guminjun, Fengtang, and Anhui cliques. These talks would not go anywhere as he died on the 12th of March 1925. The leadership of the Kuomintang went to Wang Jingwei and Hu Hamin, but the real power would go to Chiang Kai-shek, the superintendent of the Whampoa Military Academy and most of the army. After the Zhongshan incident, where communist elements of the KMT's military were purged, you'll start to see a pattern here, ladies and gentlemen.
You don't think? By the way it's looking, Dwight, I'd say he's a dirty, oh god, collectivizing, no, commie. Commie! Commie! Yeah, go get him, Dwight.
His rule became an absolute. Back north, we have the last war for a while. Just kidding. Though this is the last war of sorts, you'll see in the next video. The friendship between Fang Yuxiang and Zhang Zilin would be short-lived, as they both tried to get the Zhili to ally with them, with Zhang winning the political maneuver. The Guminjun was able to get Guao Sunling, a disgruntled Fengtang commander, to defect to their side and lay siege to Mukden, in hopes for Zhang Zulin's more liberal son, Zhang Zhilang, would take power. While all this was going on, Chiang Kai-shek tried to get Sun Chefang to defect to the KMT, but he refused, by doing a move that would piss off the Mongols and killed his emissaries. Then a Christmas miracle happened, and on Christmas Eve the siege of Mukden was lifted and Guao was killed. The Guminjun were then soundly beaten when the Japanese stepped in. Their capital was ravaged by all parties involved, leading to destruction of much of the government's bureaucracy. Zhang became the de facto dictator of the republic, much to the Zhili's disapproval. With the current situation in China, something's gonna have to give sooner or later, and I'm betting on the former.